The location, time, and identities have been changed, but those who know the name of this motel still refuse to go near it after 3 a.m. at 3 p.m. It was the last week of October. At around 11:30 p.m., Noah Miller, a 32-year-old travel vlogger, was driving along a lonely mountain highway in Montana, USA. His channel focused on abandoned places, forgotten roadside motels, and local legends. After hours of driving, he was exhausted. A violent storm rolled across the mountains. Rain slammed against the windshield so hard that even the wipers struggled to keep the road visible. Suddenly, his phone displayed no service. A few seconds later, his GPS stopped working. Noah sighed. Probably just another dead zone in the mountains. Then, through the rain and darkness, his headlights illuminated an old wooden sign. Black Pines Motel. Vacancy. Beneath it, faded letters read, "Since 1968. What disturbed Noah wasn't the motel itself. It was the silence. There were no houses, no gas stations, no passing cars. Nothing but the motel standing alone in the middle of nowhere. With no other choice, Noah pulled into the parking lot. Only 2 old vehicles were parked outside. Both were covered in thick layers of dust, as if they hadn't moved in years. He stepped inside the reception office. The moment the door opened, a small brass bell rang by itself. Ding! Behind the counter sat an elderly man. He looked to be around 70. His pale gray eyes stared at Noah without blinking. "One night?" the old man asked quietly. "Yeah," Noah replied with a tired smile. Noah chuckled. "Room 13? That's supposed to be unlucky, right?" The old man remained silent for several seconds. Then he slowly answered, "People don't fear room 13. Room 13 simply refuses to forget its guests." An uncomfortable silence filled the room. Trying to ignore the strange comment, Noah grabbed his backpack and walked down the long hallway. The corridor felt unnaturally quiet. Old portraits covered the walls. As he walked past them, he couldn't shake the feeling that every face was watching him. Finally, he stopped in front of room 13. Cold air seeped from beneath the door. As he inserted the key into the lock, a faint whisper brushed against his ear. "Don't go in." Noah spun around immediately. The hallway was completely empty. Nobody was there. He forced himself to laugh. "It's just the wind." He unlocked the door and stepped inside. The room smelled of damp wood and old wallpaper. Everything looked ordinary, except for one thing. A large antique mirror hung directly across from the bed. For just a split second, Noah saw someone standing behind him in the mirror. He turned around instantly. No one. The room was empty. He looked back at the mirror. The figure had disappeared. Noah took a deep breath and tried to calm himself. After driving for nearly 12 hours through the mountains, he convinced himself that exhaustion was playing tricks on his mind. He pulled out his camera and began recording. "Tonight, I'm staying at an old roadside motel somewhere in the Montana mountains. The place feels strange. But hopefully, by tomorrow morning, I'll have another interesting story for the channel." He placed the camera on a tripod facing the room and locked the door. Every window was tightly shut. Outside, rain pounded against the roof, while distant thunder echoed through the valley. Around 1 a.m., the lights flickered several times before returning to normal. "Old wiring," Noah whispered to himself. Just as he was about to lie down, The sound was coming from... Noah froze. His heartbeat pounded inside his chest. He blinked once, and the message was gone. The mirror looked completely normal. Trying to ignore what had happened, he returned to bed. His phone showed the time. 2:59 a.m. 1 minute later, knock. Silence. Then, knock. Knock. 3 slow knocks echoed from the other side of the door. Noah stopped breathing. A young woman's voice came from the hallway. Soft, weak, almost crying. Please, help me. I'm lost. Noah carefully walked toward... Noah's hands began to shake. He looked at the phone screen, then at himself. He was standing beside the bed, but the live camera feed clearly showed another version of him standing motionless in front of room 13. His breathing became heavy. No, that's impossible. Then, the figure on the screen slowly raised its head. It wasn't Noah. Not anymore. Its eyes were nothing but empty black voids. Its skin looked unnaturally pale. Its smile stretched from one side of its face to the other, revealing rows of sharp, broken teeth. Without making a sound, the figure lifted one finger and pointed directly toward the camera. The live feed instantly went black. Noah dropped the phone onto the bed. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it. Staff only. The door was slightly open. Taking a deep breath, Noah pushed it wider and stepped inside. The room looked like an abandoned office. Dust covered every piece of furniture. Rusted filing cabinets lined the walls. A thick guest register sat on an old wooden desk. Curious, Noah opened it. Every page listed the names of guests who had stayed at Black Pines Motel over the past 40 years. Most names had normal checkout dates, but 27 of them had no departure date. Instead, written in red ink beside each name were 2 chilling words: never left. His heartbeat quickened. He turned another page. Inside were old Polaroid photographs. Each picture showed a different guest standing outside room 13. Below every photograph was a handwritten note. Daniel Brooks, missing, October 1998. Another page. Emily Ross, missing, July 2007. Another. Michael Stone, missing, November 2016. Every single missing guest had stayed in the same room, room 13. Noah quickly flipped to the final page. His hands froze. A brand new Polaroid photo had been placed there. The photo was perfectly clear. It showed Noah sitting on the bed inside room 13, looking directly into the camera. But Noah had never taken that picture. His stomach tightened. Someone else had. Or something else. A slow, heavy breath echoed from the darkness behind him. Noah's hands began to shake. He looked at the phone screen, then at himself. He was standing beside the bed, but the live camera feed clearly showed another version of him standing motionless in front of room 13. His breathing became heavy. No, that's impossible. Then the figure on the screen slowly raised its head. It wasn't Noah. Not anymore. Its eyes were nothing but empty black voids. Its skin looked unnaturally pale. Its smile stretched from one side of its face to the other, revealing rows of sharp, broken teeth. Without making a sound, the figure lifted one finger and pointed directly toward the camera. The live feed instantly went black. Noah dropped the phone onto the bed. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it. He rushed to the door, unlocked it, and stepped into the hallway. It was empty. The young woman was gone. The silence was almost unbearable. Then he noticed something on the carpet. Wet footprints, bare human footprints. They looked fresh, as if someone had just walked through the corridor moments earlier. Noah switched on his flashlight and followed them. The footprints led to the very end of the hallway, stopping in front of an old wooden door marked "Staff Only." The door was slightly open. Taking a deep breath, Noah pushed it wider and stepped inside. The room looked like an abandoned office. Dust covered every piece of furniture. Rusted filing cabinets lined the walls. A thick guest register sat on an old wooden desk. Curious, Noah opened it. Every page listed the names of guests who had stayed at Black Pines. In the center of the room stood an old wooden table. On it lay a worn leather journal. Noah carefully opened it. The first page read, "Construction of Black Pines Motel began in 1968. Workers discovered an unmarked mass grave beneath the foundation. The owner refused to stop the project. The bodies were buried again, and the motel was built directly above them." He turned the page. 3 months after opening, the first guest disappeared. Another page. They do not leave willingly. They choose one guest every few years to replace the one they finally release. Noah's blood ran cold. The door to room 13 slowly creaked open. Beyond it was complete darkness. No walls, no furniture, just an endless black void. Then a soft voice echoed from inside. "Come in, if you want to survive." With no other way out, Noah tightened his grip on his flashlight and stepped inside. The moment he crossed the doorway, bang! The door slammed shut behind him. Suddenly, every light in the room flickered on. Noah froze. This wasn't the same motel room anymore. The space was impossibly large, stretching far beyond what should have fit inside the building. Dozens of old wooden doors lined the walls. Each door had a brass nameplate. Daniel Brooks, Emily Ross, Michael Stone. Every name belonged to someone who had disappeared from Black Pines Motel. Then Noah saw the last door. A freshly polished nameplate read, "Noah Miller." Every few years, one guest takes another's place. That is how the motel survives. Behind Noah, dozens of ghostly figures appeared. They were the missing guests. Some looked terrified. Some were crying. One elderly woman whispered, "Run." Before the creature could reach him, Noah grabbed a rusted metal chair and hurled it through the window. The glass exploded. Without thinking, he jumped. He hit the ground hard. Everything went black. The next morning, local police discovered Noah's car "I've been expecting you." The traveler looked at his name tag. It read, "Noah Miller." But Noah's eyes were completely black. On the wall behind him hung a row of old guest photographs. The newest picture showed Noah standing outside room 13. Beneath it, a brass plaque read, "Checked in, October